a guy named Don Brasper up in Minnesota. If you go way back to the earliest days of the Pope and Young record book, he killed a 186 non-typical in 1959 on public land. A buddy bumped it through a cattails marsh. I mean, you'll love this, Dan. Through a cattail marsh on public. The deer ran in front of him. He just swung and shot it. I mean, he just, total instinct, kills this deer. And then not much was made of it because it's early 1960s when the story would have come out. Well, nobody was covering that then. Not, Bowhunter magazine didn't even exist yet, for another 10 years, right? So deer like this almost got lost to history. So but when I wrote my world record whitetails book in the late 90s, I figured out that this deer had been a world record. It'd been the very first one. So I found Don. He was still living up in Minnesota at the time, and I talked to him about it, and he told me the story. And I said, how have things changed? He said, man, it's crazy. He said, all the squabbling today about high let-off bows or mechanicals or lasers and, all the stuff that we fight over now, cell cams, you name it. He said, the funny thing was that I was in an archery club back in the 50s in Minnesota. And he said, I remember when a guy came in to one of our meetings and he had made some steel pins like for a sight reference to put on his sight window on his recurve. And everybody says, man, look at that. And he said, there were guys right then that said, if you're going to do that, you might as well shoot a rifle. I mean, yeah. Now, can you imagine? I mean, Dan, you know what I'm saying? It's like, can you even imagine now what a challenge that would have been to kill anything with it? But compared to what they knew as archery, that was not archery to them. And so this little thing, this squabbling about high let-off and crossbows and all that kind of stuff, this is nothing new. I mean, the Indians were probably fighting over this, right? 3,000 years ago. Oh, you can't chip a point like that. That's not even legal. So stories like that really bring it home to you sometime that nothing has really changed except the hunting's gotten better, but people are still people, right?
Yep. I have a friend that's he's close to 60 now, and he's never picked up a compound. He kept with his traditional bow, and we were shooting with some friends, and one of them was like gap shooting. I don't know if you know what that is or not, but sure. It's a form of aiming for a traditional bow. And it just irritated him that he was doing that just to no ends. He was just like, if you're going to gap shoot, you might as well just go ahead and pick up your compound. It's like, I'm like, geez, Alan, he's still using a longbow,
Well, every time I hear people whining about crossbows nowadays, which I don't care what somebody uses, I just worry about myself. But
sure,
every time I hear all the complaining about the crossbows, I remember back to when compounds first started getting big, and a lot of people I knew being like, well, that's cheating. That's they should only have those during gun season. They should have their own season. It's the same thing we're going through now with crossbows. Like you said, it's just an ongoing thing. Things change, they evolve.
Well, if you're not doing it the way I'm doing it, you're doing it wrong. I mean, that's how guys are, right? I mean, it's the old Chevy, Ford, Matthews, Hoyt, Rage Muzzy. I mean, we could go on and on and on, right? But I mean, there's just something about the need to tell everybody else that you're right, and by definition, you're not always right. So, but there doesn't have to be a wrong as long as it's legal and safe and ethical. I don't care what you use.
Right.
Hey everybody, if you like the channel, make sure you subscribe right here. And if you like the clips, I got 2 more options for you. 2 options right here. Subscribe right here. See you guys.